All right, Major League Baseball. Playoffs going on right now. Great time of year. Phenomenal time of year, right? NFL, college football in full swing. Baseball in October. It's unbelievable. Soak it in. Enjoy every second of it. Doesn't get much better than postseason baseball. The day yesterday was incredible. Baseball, started in the afternoon, went throughout the entirety of the night. It was phenomenal. And, obviously only one team has clinched their spot in the championship series, and that team is the Toronto Blue Jays. And this Toronto Blue Jays team is so fun. They are unbelievable, and you got to give them a lot of credit. They were having a lot of fun after the game. We were going to play the clip of what transpired on the Fox postgame show, but I wanted to hold back on that in case there was any copyright issues there. But basically, if you didn't see it, what a great postgame crew that they have at Fox with Jeter, A-Rod, and David Ortiz and Kevin Burkhardt. But they were interviewing Vladdy and of course, the John Sterling, their longtime radio guy for the Yankees. He always does the Yankees win, and they were mocking that and saying the Yankees lose, right? And with Vlad and David Ortiz, and they kept cutting to A-Rod and Jeter, and you knew Jeter just absolutely was not buying that at all because obviously those guys are Yankees, and Derek Jeter will always be a Yankee at his core. He always picks them right when they do the games, but that was a good moment, and the Blue Jays have absolutely owned the Yankees this year, and you got to give them credit for that. This is a team that was the worst team in the division last year, and what a rebound they made in one off season. Things got borderline a little bit hairy there with Vlad. What are they going to do? Are they going to pay him? They're not. Borderline last minute, they paid him. They paid him well. $500 million actually is what they paid Vlad Guerrero Jr., and he absolutely lived up to it as he was unbelievable in this series as he batted .529. Right, and this was a guy before this postseason had been a part of some playoff baseball for the Jays, had not been a part of a single playoff win. Well, that has changed now as they obviously win that series after the bye in the wild card round. They beat the Yankees. And how about Ernie Clement there as well? Second baseman for them. Was drafted by the Guards. He's like 29 years old, veteran guy, plays second base for him, and just a dog. Just a complete dog. Batted .643 in the series, and they don't give out MVPs for the division series. They'll do that for the CS, obviously, but Ernie Clement, to me, clearly the MVP of that series for the Jays. And just, what Schneider was able to do from a managerial perspective, I think they threw 8 guys last night, full bullpen game. I think nobody really went more than 5 outs, and they just did a tremendous job pushing the right buttons in the pen, and those guys can hit. Those guys can absolutely hit for the Toronto Blue Jays. And, this is a day and age where it's like, oh, you got to put the ball over the fence and it's slugging and OPS. And maybe there's some truth to that in the regular season. Maybe there is. But this whole idea and notion that, batting average, it doesn't mean anything. Batting average is ridiculous anymore. You can't use that to quantify how good a player really is. To me, that's garbage, right? When you get to the postseason, batting average matters. And what do the Toronto Blue Jays do? They hit the baseball. They get on base. They led the league in the regular season in hits, and they were absolutely smoking the ball off the Blue Jays or off the Yankees the entire series there as well. So this notion that we're getting away from batting average, maybe that's true. You want to do that in the offseason when you're trying to construct your roster. Is there more to a player than what his batting average is? Fine. But at the end of the day, in the postseason, you want to win the postseason, you need to get hits, right? Does it help to put the ball over the fence? Absolutely. But this Blue Jays team rakes the baseball. They get hits top to bottom, and it really is incredible to watch. Obviously I am, I picked them to win the World Series, so maybe I am cheering for them a little bit too much here in this spot. But, this is all without Bo Bichette, too. Now, there's an opportunity that they could get him back for the championship series. What he did down the stretch in the regular season before he got hurt was unbelievable. Him and George Springer were just a two-headed monster at the top of that order for the Toronto Blue Jays, and really were spearheading what they were doing offensively and carrying them. But, you look at their lineup, and Lucas, right? They're in the outfield, what he's able to do. Obviously, Vlad is tremendous and was tremendous in the series. Addison Barger there at third base. Alejandro Kirk, a guy that catches really well, but you can put him right there in the middle of your order, and he'll deliver some really good swings. Daulton Varsho, solid center fielder. Santander, who had all the injuries and really hasn't done much. What a great acquisition that he was. And he hasn't even been able to do much to contribute to the team, but he's still obviously a threat. And then you throw Jimenez in there at that shortstop spot when Bichette goes down. He's more than capable of playing winning baseball. And then obviously I mentioned Ernie Clement there as well. Think the world of him. He is a tremendous player, and the Blue Jays deserve a lot of credit. They're taking their victory lap, right? I mean, how can you not, right? I mean, they ended with the same regular season record as the New York Yankees, but they were able to get the bye because they had the tiebreaker. Obviously, that is huge, right? The fact they didn't have to play in that 3-game series, right? If you can avoid, there's pros and cons, right? You know, if you have to sit your offense, and the bats, don't get to play for several days, that could be a disadvantage, right? You're seeing more teams now this year had kind of the inter-squad scrimmages trying to simulate a real game, and I think that's been beneficial because you've seen some teams in years past, most notably Baltimore, right, who's like, wow, they're the best team in baseball in the regular season, then they get to the playoffs and just get absolutely smoked because the bats don't show up. But this year it appears to be kind of chalky, right? We'll see. Obviously, games still to be played, but I think you would bet on the fact that, hey, it's going to be all the 1s and 2 seeds at this point playing in the championship series. But, they did a tremendous job. The Toronto Blue Jays did. Schneider, the manager, pushing all the right buttons. What a bounce back from finishing in the basement in the East to getting a bye to knocking off the New York Yankees, getting a win on the road to win for them. That's going to be unbelievable. And as a baseball fan, I would like to see them play Seattle just because I think Seattle gives them more of a fight. If it's the Tigers, I don't see that series going more than 5 games, to be completely honest with you. But looking at the other side of things, and, I wish people would do this more, but it's seemingly, everyone's, the Yankees lost again. Let's talk about the Yankees. Let's give some credit to the Toronto Blue Jays because they were unbelievable in this spot. But then you're back to the drawing board again if you're Yankees. Right, it's the team that's supposed to be, the proudest organization in all of baseball, the 27 World Championships, but they haven't won one since, 13, right, with Jeter. It's been a really, really long time since they've been able to do it. Obviously, got a bit of a taste of it last year, getting to the World Series, but ultimately getting beaten by a better team. And, they're going to have to make some changes. Again, they're obviously going to spend money, as they always do, and they'll try to retool and regroup for next year. But this wasn't a bad team. It was a really solid team in the regular season. As I mentioned, they were almost able to chase down the Blue Jays and take the division and get that bye. If they do, maybe this is a different series, if they have some more rest. But Aaron Judge, I was happy that Aaron Judge was able to silence his critics because he was unbelievable this postseason. I think he batted like 500 and, had a couple of bombs, which was big, had his big moments, obviously in Game 3, which kind of gave them life and avoided a sweep when they were down 6-1 in that ball game. But Aaron Judge, you can say what you want about the Yankees. I'm certainly the furthest thing from a Yankee fan, but Aaron Judge is great for baseball. As far as in America, he's kind of the face of baseball, and rightfully so. And rightfully so. I think he says all the right things. He does all the right things. He's a great teammate. He's an exciting player. I mean, looking at his stats, man, baseball is the most team game as it gets, right? It's not like a quarterback. And obviously the NFL is the greatest team game. But a quarterback, you're touching the ball every play. You have a real opportunity to take a team that might not be a championship team and elevate them to a championship team. It doesn't really work like that in baseball, no matter how good you are as a player. Mike Trout, a perfect example. I think Mike Trout was heading in the direction of potentially being the greatest player of all time. I used to make that argument, actually, that he was the GOAT, but he obviously wasn't even in a spot where he was even in the postseason, really, apart from, I think, 1 year. So I don't think Judge should be getting banged on too much for the fact that he doesn't have a ring yet at this point. My money's on he'll get one at some point, but he was phenomenal in the postseason for Cincinnati, for New York, and what he was able to do with his bat. And just, you take a look at his numbers during the year, right? I think well over 100 RBIs, batted well over 300, I think 50-plus nukes. Just an incredible season, as always, for Aaron Judge. And he'll be right back to it, and he'll be, still be the best player in baseball, or the second best player in baseball, if you want to say it's Ohtani, going forward next year. But the Yankees got to retool. We'll see. Aaron Boone's still under contract. We'll see if they bring him back or not. Do I think they need to make a move? Do they need a new voice? Maybe. I think Boone, for the most part, he's a good manager in Major League Baseball, but when you're the Yankees and it's just held at such a high standard, maybe you move off him. I think he'd have a job the next day if he did get fired by New York. But they've got to make some changes. And, as somebody that I don't necessarily root against the Yankees, maybe I do a little bit. But it's kind of been interesting to see them win all these games, get to the postseason, and continue to collapse. And that's going to be a narrative that they continue to try to overcome here at this point. The Cubs and the Brewers. Cubs stayed alive. They scored 4 runs in the first inning last night and then were able to hold on for dear life. I picked them to beat the Brewers before the playoffs began. Are they going to be able to do it? I'm not going to say they got lucky. They did a good job. The bullpen held it down last night, and they were able to stay alive. They will be playing again tonight late. I believe it's after 9 o'clock Eastern time, first pitch, Cubs and Brewers. Are they going to be able to do it again and send the series back to Milwaukee? I don't know. We'll see. But again, as a baseball fan, even if the Phillies come back and somehow beat the Dodgers, like, you feel like the Brewers are going to give you the best series there in that spot. And the Brewers continue to play good baseball. Jackson Chourio, getting him back. He's a dynamic player. They were winning all those games there without Jackson Chourio, which was unbelievable that they were able to do that. And, Kyle Schwarber, if we have some time here, we'll talk about at the end of today's show, but 2 bombs in the game last night. That one off Yamamoto, I mean, that thing was gone. I mean, I haven't seen a ball be hit that hard in a very long time. I don't know if I've ever seen a ball be hit that hard as far as what Kyle Schwarber did in that game, but the Phillies showed a little bit of life there in that series, getting up off the mat on the road, facing elimination. Offense showed up in a big way off of Yamamoto, who Reds fans obviously understand is a very good pitcher. Reds certainly had issues with him, but the Phillies stay alive, and we'll get those games in the National League tonight, and then we'll see if either one of those go to a Game 5. And then tomorrow, going to be incredible. Mariners and the Tigers. That staff for Seattle, I mean, nobody really talks about the Mariners because they haven't really had much postseason success, and they were kind of quiet, but a great move to get Suarez back on the team. He went deep the other night there as well for the Mariners. And, that staff with, Castillo and Gilbert and those guys, that is a real staff that can go out there and win a world championship. They're good enough to do that. I'm pulling for them because I think they'll give Toronto the better series than Detroit, but credit to Detroit for bouncing back. I didn't think they were going to win that game the other day and stay alive in that series, but that goes back to Seattle for a Game 5, and that should be a really good ball game tomorrow.